Imagine you're sitting at your desk on an ordinary Thursday morning in December 2005. You're a trader at Mizuho Securities, one of Japan's biggest financial firms. You've got your coffee, you're checking emails, and you need to execute a simple stock trade. You type in the numbers, hit enter, and within 60 seconds, you've just lost your company $225 million. Not because you're incompetent, not because the market crashed, but because you switched two numbers around. Welcome to the terrifying world of financial typos, where a misplaced decimal, an extra zero, or one wrong keystroke can trigger economic catastrophes that ripple across entire countries. Today, we're diving into the most expensive typos in financial history. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be triple-checking every email you send for the rest of your life. The 8th of December, 2005. Tokyo, Japan. Let me paint you the scene. The Tokyo Stock Exchange is buzzing with activity. A small recruiting company called JCOM Co. is having its initial public offering its first day being traded publicly. The stock is priced at a healthy 610,000 yen per share, about $5,040 in US dollars. Pretty standard stuff for a Japanese IPO. Enter our unfortunate hero, a trader at Mizuho Securities. His job? Simple. Sell one share at 610,000 yen. That's it. One share. Type it in, execute the trade, move on with your day, maybe grab some ramen for lunch. But here's where it gets spicy. Instead of typing, sell one share at 610,000 yen, our trader's fingers betrayed him. He typed, sell 610,000 shares at 1 yen each. Basically, he flipped the entire order backwards. And then, because the universe has a dark sense of humor, he hit enter. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but someone would catch that immediately, right? There are systems in place, fail-safes, people checking these things? Yeah, about that. The Tokyo Stock Exchange's trading system at the time had one job: flag suspicious orders. And it did notice something weird about this order. The system was like, hey, this seems wrong. But here's the kicker, the system couldn't actually stop the trade. It could only send a warning message. And in the chaos of opening day trading, that warning got buried. Meanwhile, algorithmic traders and hedge funds across Tokyo started seeing this gift from the gods appear on their screens. 610,000 shares of a brand new company for 1 yen each? That's essentially free money. They pounced like sharks smelling blood in the water. Within minutes, the order was being filled, and traders were buying up JCOM shares faster than you could say, holy shit. Mizuho realized their mistake almost immediately, probably about the same time the trader's soul left his body, and desperately tried to cancel the order. But the Tokyo Stock Exchange's rules were clear. You can't just cancel trades because you made a boo-boo. Some of those shares had already been bought. The damage was done. By the end of the day, Mizuho Securities had lost at least 27 billion yen, about $225 million. But the fun didn't stop there. The entire Tokyo Stock Exchange was thrown into chaos. The Nikkei 225 index, Japan's main stock market indicator, dropped 1.95% in a single day because of one typo. That's billions in market value, just evaporating because someone's fingers slipped. The Japanese government was furious. Economy Minister Kaoru Yosano went on record saying they needed to maintain the credibility of the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi jumped in, calling for better safety measures. And you know it's bad when the Prime Minister has to comment on a typo. Here's the truly scary part. This wasn't even the first major glitch at the Tokyo Stock Exchange that year. Just a month earlier, a system failure had shut down the entire market for almost an entire trading day. So investors were already nervous. And then this happens. Talk about adding insult to injury. The trader? We don't know what happened to him specifically. But let's just say updating your LinkedIn profile when you've cost your company $225 million is probably not a fun experience. Mizuho's parent company, Mizuho Financial Group, had to publicly commit to covering all the losses. Their stock price tanked. Their reputation took a massive hit. And here's the darkest comedy of all. Morgan Stanley, the big American investment bank, ended up with a 31.2% stake in JCOM by the end of the day, thanks to gobbling up all those dirt cheap shares. So while Mizuho was hemorrhaging money, Morgan Stanley was basically having Christmas come early. The incident became so infamous in Japan that it sparked an entire investigation by the Financial Services Agency. New regulations were implemented. Trading systems were overhauled, all because of one backwards order. 2006. Toronto, Canada. You're browsing the Alitalia Airlines website, maybe planning a Mediterranean vacation. You're checking flight prices from Toronto to Cyprus. Beautiful island, great beaches, excellent wine. Normally, a first-class ticket on this route would run you about $3,900. Not cheap, but Cyprus is worth it. But today, something magical appears on your screen. First-class tickets to Cyprus for $39. Not $390, not $399, $39. That's less than most people spend on dinner. That's cheaper than a tank of gas. That's basically the price of a decent bottle of wine, and you're getting a first-class flight to the Mediterranean. Now, you're probably smart enough to realize this is a mistake. But you're also smart enough to know that mistakes can work in your favor. You've heard the stories about airlines honoring pricing errors. So you book that ticket, and you tell your friends. And they tell their friends. And within hours, nearly 2,000 people have booked first-class flights to Cyprus for less than the cost of an Uber ride to the airport. Alitalia's web team finally notices something's wrong when they see bookings flooding in at an impossible rate. They scramble to fix the website, probably while screaming Italian profanities. They quickly realize what happened. Someone entered the price as $39 instead of $3,900. A simple decimal point error. One missing zero. The kind of typo you make 100 times a day in your own life. Now Alitalia faces an impossible choice. Honor the tickets and lose over $7 million, or cancel them all and face a PR nightmare. Imagine the headlines. Italian airline screws over 2,000 customers. Ruins their dream vacations. The social media backlash would be nuclear. Customer loyalty? Gone. Brand reputation? Destroyed. Initially, Alitalia tried to cancel the bookings. They sent emails explaining the error, offering apologies, promising refunds, but the customers weren't having it. Some had already requested time off work. Others had booked hotels. A few probably quit their jobs entirely thinking they'd scored lifetime cheap travel. The pressure mounted. Travel consumer advocacy groups got involved. News outlets picked up the story. And Alitalia, seeing the writing on the wall, made the call. They would honor every single ticket, all 2,000 of them, at a loss of approximately $3,861 per ticket. Do the math. That's over $7.7 million in losses from one typo. $7 million. For comparison, that's enough money to buy 15 actual houses in Toronto, or about 200,000 more bottles of that wine I mentioned earlier. But here's the thing. Alitalia probably made the right call from a business perspective. Yes, they lost millions. But they avoided becoming the villain in a viral story about big corporations screwing over regular people. In the age of social media, reputation damage can cost way more than $7 million in the long run. Jump to 2018. You're working in the trading department of Deutsche Bank, one of the largest financial institutions on planet Earth. The bank handles trillions of dollars in transactions annually. Your job involves moving massive sums of money between accounts, executing complex trades, managing portfolios that would make most people's heads spin. It's a routine day. You need to transfer some funds to a client as part of a regular transaction. You're probably thinking about lunch, or that meeting later, or whatever mundane thoughts occupy your brain when you're doing something you've done 1,000 times before. You type in the amount, and somehow you transfer $35 billion to a client account. $35 billion. To put that in perspective, that's more money than the GDP of about 100 countries. That's enough to buy every NFL team. That's roughly half of what Elon Musk paid for Twitter. That's Jeff Bezos spending money levels of cash. The beautiful thing about this particular catastrophe is that Deutsche Bank caught it quickly. Their internal systems, probably having heart attacks and sending alerts to every manager in the building, flagged the transaction as, this seems wrong. The money was reversed before the client could do anything with it. Crisis averted, disaster prevented, nobody goes to jail. But here's what's terrifying. The fact that it was even possible to accidentally transfer $35 billion? Think about that. Deutsche Bank's systems allowed a single trader to move that much money without requiring additional authorization, without multiple confirmations, without someone higher up having to sign off. Sure, the error was caught. But what if it hadn't been? What if it happened at 4:58 p.m. on a Friday, and nobody noticed until Monday? What if the client had been less honest and tried to immediately move that money somewhere else? The potential for catastrophe was insane. The incident sent shockwaves through their internal risk systems, according to reports, which is corporate speak for everyone freaked the hell out. New protocols were implemented. Trading limits were revised. Someone probably got fired, though banks rarely publicize those details. This type of error is called a fat finger mistake in trading lingo, when your finger hits the wrong key or you add extra zeros by accident. It's remarkably common. In 2014, a trader in Japan accidentally placed an order worth $617 billion more than the market value of Apple at the time. These mistakes happen more often than you'd think, usually getting caught before causing real damage. But the Deutsche Bank incident reveals an uncomfortable truth. The global financial system runs on computers and humans, both of which are prone to spectacular failures. So the next time you're about to hit send on an important email, or submit on a financial transaction, or enter on literally anything involving numbers, take a breath. Read it one more time. Because in a world where one typo can cost $225 million, being paranoid isn't crazy. It's just smart risk management. If you enjoyed this deep dive into financial disasters, we've got tons more content about money, mistakes, economic catastrophes, and the terrifying fragility of modern systems. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and drop a comment letting me know which typo story scared you the most. And hey, if you work in finance and you've got your own horror stories about typos, share them below. We'd love to hear them. Anonymously, of course. Thanks for watching, and remember, proofread everything. Your bank account will thank you.